Holla, it's your boy Nate here from the 8020 Drummer. I put this up on Instagram because I was doing another jazz lesson and I got a lot of comments about, can you show us how to comp at up tempos? Can you do a lesson on Antonio Sanchez? All great comments. I'm going to do none of those things in this lesson, but I'm going to do something that I think embodies the spirit of what people were asking. And one person asked, can you show me what to play if I'm a rock drummer? Can you show me how to play jazz? And when I think about when I started getting into jazz, one of the most intimidating things was that it seemed like there was a completely other vocabulary you had to learn to play jazz. And I want to show you one very simple adaptation of a rudiment that I'm pretty sure comes from Max Roach. Whether or not Max invented it, he certainly played with it this way. And you can use it and apply it today, and then I'm going to show you a kind of modern adaptation. I'll also show you some ways you can vary it up. So the rudiment is just this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's really a combination of singles and a paradiddle diddle. And a paradiddle diddle is, of course. So it's 6 singles and then a paradiddle diddle. And a lot of Max Roach vocabulary is great because if you're learning to play the hats on 2 and 4, it's really developed around the hats on 2 and 4. Like a lot of the more modern vocabulary, it doesn't really work super well with the hats on 2 and 4. You kind of have to put the hats in spots that allow it to breathe. And if you're interested in more of that, check out my videos, How to Really Play Jazz Drums, Part 1 and 2. But the great thing about Max Roach type vocabulary is that it feels amazing with the hats on 2 and 4. And it's useful to almost think of a lot of Max's vocabulary as having a proto-Terry Bozzio type ostinato happening, where he wasn't just putting this on autopilot. This was part of the melody. And one of the great subtle things you can do with Max is practice really having that left foot lock up with whatever rudiment you're doing. By the way, this variation I just did, we'll get to. Anyway, I want to show you the sort of most prototypical Max version of this, which would be you're playing 2 bars of swing, medium, medium up, it doesn't matter, and then you go into that rudiment I'm showing you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you guys who are familiar with my channel know that I'm all about hemiolizing. And that just means taking a 16-beat or an 8-beat phrase and breaking it out into 2 groups of 3 and 1 group of 2, or 2 groups of 6 and 1 group of 4, instead of 4 2s or 4 4s. Ding ding, I think I nailed it that time. So the hemiolization of this phrase would simply be 1 2 3 4. You can do that ad nauseum, but that's what that would sound like over, say, a 4-bar phrase. So something like that. So from here, it's literally just taking that lick and playing with orchestration possibilities. And I want to show you kind of the more difficult, more advanced Max Roach stuff first, and then I'll show you the more modern application, which is closer to the way I would play this in real life, which you'll find easier. So if the original is 3 4, it's not a huge stretch to simply reorchestrate that to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you can go top to bottom, you can also go bottom to top. So that would sound like 3, 4. So if you're doing that hemiolized thing I showed you before, it makes sense to go high, low, high, low, high, low. So then you're creating a melody. And then you're really getting into Max Roach / Young Swanger territory with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that right away, if you're playing, I think this is like the official solo break of Smoke Jazz Club. Okay, so that's kind of the ultimate max version of this. And I like to do another variation of it, which I cover in extreme depth in my video Faster Hands, which I'm thinking of relaunching at some point. But I got this from John Riley and my boy Kyle Struve, shoutouts. You simply add a kick drum as a pickup to your tom note. So for the max melody, which is 3, 4, you simply take out the snare stroke that would occur before the first tom stroke and play a kick stroke instead. So 3, 4. Same thing if you're doing that bi-tomal melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I think that gives you a few tools to start deploying Max Roach stuff right away. And you can use that as a warm-up. You can play it slow to fast to slow like any other rudiment. But I want to start to talk about sort of more modern applications of it. So this is simply a reorchestration, but instead of... I like to simply hit the cymbal with the kick drum. So 3, 4. And when you're doing that, that allows an orchestration possibility with the left hand to the high tom on the pickup. So 3, 4. And you can also do that tom sweep to the bottom tom. So, and that'll sound like this: 3, 4. So you can do the hemialization again, and when you do that, just fair warning, the hat pattern's going to change because it phrases better. So with orchestration, 3, 4. So there are some possibilities there. And if you're playing that fast, it can be kind of flashy, again, in the Smoke Jazz Club vein. So and we're in the modern era, so you can do that Greg Hutchinson 4/2 thing right there. So the last thing is, if I were playing this in real life, again, I think it was Joey Barron who said, if you're playing any kind of swing vocabulary that's post-Jack DeJohnette, and then you break into a really literalist Max Roach solo, you're referencing an era. So that's doable, and it sounds great, and I've heard John Riley do it, and I've heard a lot of modern drummers do it. But you want to make sure that you're playing honestly. At the end of the day, you know, stage one is absorb the material of our heroes and use it to make us better. And as a very honest YouTube commenter commented on my Chris Dave video, stage two is integrate those things into your own voice so that you're playing honestly. So I would just probably borrow the first part of that lick that just, and I might just improvise something on the second half. So like 3, 4. So that's a lick that you can take and transcribe. And to practice this, whenever you're getting away from the hi-hat on strict 2 and 4, I recommend practicing the ride cymbal parts on the rim of the rack tom. So that's another thing I might do. Etc. So I think you can see from that how a simple lick from Max Roach can be reorchestrated and repurposed and varied so that you can basically sound idiomatic in jazz for any era from the 1940s up till today. And hopefully that hints to you the value of transcribing and discovering things that people, not just contemporaries, but the forebearers of our contemporaries. I totally lost the structure of that sentence. Train of thought. Someone was asking me about comping at up tempos. Anyway, another reason that I feel like the top sort of tier of drummers sound more individual than the quote-unquote second tier is that they generally check out older stuff and they go back to the roots of the tree, and they're more concerned about sounding like themselves and less concerned about sounding like other people. So that's another thing to think about, just a little bit of dollar store philosophy for you. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this lesson and you want to go deeper, I recommend 2 things for you. This is the upsell. My flagship course, my raison d'etre, is something called the 80/20 Drummer Coaching Course, which has a jazz version, but essentially it's like studying with me for 6 months for around the price of a single lesson. If you want a gateway drug to that, something that won't break your wallet, but that will give you an exposure to the type of method that I use to teach, I recommend my starter product, the 80/20 Roadmap. There's a handy link for you to click right on the screen, and that'll take you to preview and pick up the roadmap if you want. Most drummers make some version of the same 3 mistakes. The roadmap will help you ferret those out and triage them so that you can get better faster. Hopefully it'll also help you trust me to be your instructor, your sensei. No, it'll help you trust that I've been down this road and I can point out what's worked for me and what's worked for other people. How about that? We're all just walking down the... Anyway, guys, it's been real. This is the last of the Before the Asia Trip pre-taped lessons. I hope you enjoy it whenever it airs. Thanks so much. One love.